What's goody? It's your boy and I'm back with another banging video, and today we got a very special video. It's actually a newer video, so shouts out to y'all for this one. We got how good was Michael Jordan actually, and shouts out to Nonstop. I've been watching a lot of his videos and I love the insight he gives on his videos. Always great details, different details that I never heard before. So y'all already know what time it is on this Michael journey, bro. We've been really spazzing out on these different type of videos, and trust me, I appreciate everyone viewer. I appreciate every single one of y'all. So I just want to thank you for tuning in if you're new. And also, if you're new, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get the 100,000 subscribers, and everyone's subscriber count. So you just go ahead and hit that button. It'll help your boy out. Other than that, hit that like button. By liking the video, the way YouTube algorithm works, YouTube will show the video to more people. And you just help me to grow, man. I'm trying to pay some bills, bro. We trying to grow. We trying to do great things. We trying to create generational wealth for real. So just a little like and a subscribe, that's all. It's all free and you just help me to grow. But with that being said, I'm not holding y'all any longer. I know y'all been waiting on this content, so let's just go ahead and get into it. How good was Michael Jordan actually? Let's get it.
Michael Jordan scored 50 points or more in the playoffs 8 times, more than Kobe, KD, LeBron, and Wilt combined.
8 times.
Jordan also had the most 40-point playoff games, more than Kareem, AI, Steph, and D-Wade put together. In fact, MJ is the only player in NBA history who had more 40-point career games than games where he scored less than 20 points. Jordan's godlike aura, brutal trash talk, and physical dominance put fear in opponents' hearts. And while they had to get a good night's sleep before facing the Bulls, Jordan could drink and smoke cigars before the game and still drop 40. His airness made it look easy, and he proved it when the games were on the line.
Game on the line, who would take the last shot? Me.
28 times Jordan scored the game-winning shot, including 7 game winners in the playoffs. And MJ wasn't just a scorer. He had the most first-team all-defense selections ever with 9. He's the all-time blocks leader by a guard and has the most seasons with over 200 steals, with 6. In 1989, when the Bulls lost their starting point guard, Coach Doug Collins made Jordan play the point, and he notched 10 triple-doubles in 11 games, averaging 30 points, 11 assists, and 9.5 rebounds per game. Between 1991 and 1996, MJ played 13 consecutive playoff series where he averaged more than 30 points per game, retiring with 6 rings, 5 MVPs, and a 6-0 record in the final. But despite his seemingly invincible legacy, Jordan did have some weaknesses. MJ led the NBA in field goal attempts 9 times during his 13 years in Chicago. And he was a bit of a ball hog, especially in his early career. Jordan also had some bad playoff games, and he certainly wasn't the most pleasant teammate. So, how good was Michael Jordan actually?
Nobody's perfect. Let's talk about it all.
Is he really the GOAT? To answer that, we'll start with his genetics and God-given talent. Michael Jordan was supposed to be short. Nobody in his family was taller than 5'9", and as a high school sophomore, Michael was famously cut from his varsity basketball team because he was only 5'11".
It sounds sad, but it's true.
However, the Jordans were blessed with supreme athleticism. Just look at Michael's older brother Larry, who could dunk at 5'8". So, when an unexpected growth spurt pushed Michael to 6'6", he became unstoppable. By the end of his high school career, Jordan was averaging 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. But despite his unreal speed and athleticism, young MJ was still an unpolished gem because he really only played 2 years of high school basketball. As a freshman at UNC, MJ averaged a modest 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He was the 3rd leading scorer on the team behind James Worthy and Sam Perkins, and his fundamentals, ball handling, and confidence weren't yet at a super high level. But all that changed in the 1982 NCAA Finals, when Michael hit a game-winning shot against Patrick Ewing, winning the national championship.
18. Shot. Jordan. North Carolina has won the 1982 NCAA championship.
Jordan said this was the biggest turning point of his career, because after that, his confidence was through the roof.
That turned my name from Mike to Michael Jordan. It gave me the confidence that I needed to start to excel at the game of basketball.
In the next 2 seasons, Jordan continued his basketball education under Dean Smith and became a complete player. He averaged 20 points per game, was a consensus first-team All-American, and as a junior in 1984, he was named Collegiate Player of the Year. But based on his college career alone, it was hard to predict that Jordan would reach the pinnacle of the NBA. After all, many great players who came before Michael had far better college careers, including Kareem, Magic, Bird, Bill Walton, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, David Thompson, Pete Maravich, and a few others. Because of his relatively modest numbers in college, and because the 80s were the era of the big men, Jordan was selected third in the 1984 NBA draft, behind centers Hakeem Olajuwon and Sam Bowie.
Sam Bowie. So how much can he really do?
We wish he were 7'1", but he isn't.
However, it took just 2 practices for the Bulls coach to call the general manager and say, "You didn't mess up the draft this time."
For the first day in practice, my mentality was, whoever is the team leader on that team, I'm going after him. And I'm not going to do it with my voice because I had no voice. I have to do it with the way that I play.
When the season started, it took Jordan only 3 games to score over 30 and 9 games to eclipse 40.
Dang,
by the end of the first month, it was obvious that Jordan was supposed to be the first overall pick. While Olajuwon looked like a star, Jordan was more like a supernova because there was nobody in the league faster than him. It seemed almost unfair how he blew past opponents with just a single step who had no answer for his drives to the basket. On top of his speed, Jordan was also the most athletic player in the NBA, with an unmatched vertical jump and hang time. When he drove to the cup, it looked like he was a fighter jet, and his quickness served as a runway for his vertical takeoff. When MJ raised up for a jump shot, it seemed like nobody was ever guarding him, because the laws of gravity didn't seem to apply to Michael. Defenders could jump at the same time, but as they would inevitably fall down, Jordan would continue to float in the air and shoot completely unbothered.
How's the transition been from college to the NBA?
Well, I think it's been pretty easy.
Thanks to his high-flying feats and insane dunks, Jordan quickly became the most popular player in the NBA. So it only made sense that in 1986, he got voted to the All-Star game, despite playing just 3 games up to that point due to an ankle injury. And that same year, in the playoffs, he set a playoff scoring record with 63 points against Boston.
But it was an incredible playoff performance. I've never seen it before.
63?
And I had never seen it after. That wasn't Michael Jordan out there. It was God disguised as Michael Jordan.
As if MJ wasn't doing enough already, in 1987, MJ led the NBA in scoring with 37 points per game, which was and remains the 5th best scoring output ever, behind only Wilt's insane scoring feats of the early 1960s.
I just want the franchise and Chicago Bulls to be respected as a team. It's very hard for something like that to happen, but it's not impossible.
Meanwhile, Jordan was miserable. Despite all the fame and individual accolades, he was always losing. In his first 3 seasons, MJ only won 1 playoff game, despite being the best player in the league. But after the Bulls GM Jerry Krause drafted Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen, his life would change forever. In 1988, MJ averaged 35 points on 54% shooting, with 6 rebounds and 6 assists, winning his first career MVP. Because he also led the NBA in steals with 3.2, plus 1.6 blocks per game, Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year. And he is still one of only 5 players ever to win Defensive Player of the Year and MVP.
At the guard.
And after the 1988 dunk contest against Dominique Wilkins, which is considered by many to be the best of all time, some people already started calling him the best player they have ever seen.
That was nothing he did with.
But none of that mattered, because the most important thing to Jordan was winning. And now with Pippen and Grant on the team, the Bulls had their first 50-win season since 1974. Chicago then finally advanced in the playoffs, winning the first round over the Cavaliers, with MJ averaging an insane 45 points per game. However, in the second round, a more experienced Pistons team defeated the Bulls pretty easily, 4 games to 1. It was proof that individual greatness doesn't translate to playoff wins. A lesson Jordan had yet to learn, but that didn't make him any less entertaining to watch. In the 1989 season, Jordan hit his first legendary shot in the NBA, simply known as the shot.
A shot on Elo, good! The Bulls win it! They win it!
This is going to be a lot more of them, though.
In the second round, the Bulls got past the Knicks, but they again fell victim to the Pistons, who bullied Jordan with their physicality. And in 1990, it was more of the same. MJ led the NBA in scoring and steals. He was super efficient, but the team couldn't get over the hump and get past the Detroit Pistons for a 3rd consecutive year. In his first 6 years in the league, MJ had won 5 playoff series and lost 6, with an overall playoff record of 25 wins and 29 losses. So after that 3rd loss to the Pistons, the media started doubting Jordan, questioning his ability to play team basketball, and wondering if he was only concerned about himself and his numbers. And in a way, they were right. In the 80s, he was often trying to score out of double or even triple teams, ignoring his wide-open teammates. In 1989, he was a capable passer, averaging a career-high 8 dimes per game. But Jordan always looked to score first and pass second. And he wasn't like Magic, Jokic, or Doncic, who manipulate defenses with their eyes and fake defenders into wrong coverages. Jordan's passing was more reactive. He got rid of the ball only when he saw that somebody was wide open. And since Jordan was like a black hole that sucked all the defensive attention, when he did opt to pass, it was usually for an easy dunk. But despite MJ's ridiculous scoring numbers, the Bulls' offense was always average during the 80s, and they were actually at their best in 1986, when Mike missed 80% of the season due to an ankle injury. It wasn't until 1990, the arrival of Phil Jackson and the emergence of Scottie Pippen, that the Bulls' offense cracked the top 5 in the NBA. Pippen's passing and pushing the ball in the open court created lots of space for Jordan, who could finally trust someone else to make plays for him consistently. But Pippen's value was maybe even more pronounced on the defensive end. With an enormous wingspan, agility, and a motor to cover multiple players on one possession, Scottie was just what Michael was missing. Pip's presence allowed Michael to play free safety on defense, jump into passing lanes for steals, and he didn't need to waste his energy guarding the best opposing player, because Scottie usually did that. And after agonizing defeats against the Pistons, MJ decided to bulk up, which was unprecedented at the time. Players didn't spend much time in the gym, and if you look at all the players in the 80s, they looked lean. But hardly anyone was super muscular. So when MJ returned for the 1991 season, he was still super quick, athletic, and could contort his body in the air like no one else. But this time around, he was also much stronger, which allowed him to absorb contact better and bully smaller players with his size. What also helped Michael was the arrival of coaches Phil Jackson and Tex Winter, who instituted the triangle offense, which was based on cutting in open spaces and playmaking out of the post. If executed properly, the triangle was believed to be the most optimal offense to optimize spacing. MJ didn't have to bring up the ball all the time and force his shots, and he was receiving the ball closer to the basket, where he'd bully smaller defenders and dominate like never before. Even though Jordan was phenomenal from the moment he stepped into the NBA, in 1991, he was at his best, and he won his second MVP award. The 91 Bulls had the best offense in the NBA, and they crushed the opposition in the Eastern Conference. They swept the Knicks, beat the 76ers in 5, and then finally got their revenge against the Pistons. This time, it wasn't even close, as Detroit was on the decline after 3 straight.
Let me pause it real quick. Hey, he had to really want it and have a totally different mentality, because like the guy said, and I just wanted to point this out real quick, that at that time, it was unheard of for NBA players. They were all lean, linky, long guys. Nobody was really bulky. If they were bulky and big like Karl Malone or maybe an Olajuwon, that was a special circumstance. So for him to even go in the weight room, which wasn't a requirement, but he knew himself, I need to get a little stronger because they beat me up. I need to be able to fight through that contact. Is that mentality for self. He didn't need to do it for the team. It wasn't a requirement. They didn't want him to go hit the weights. But he knew if he did that, he would elevate his team, elevate himself, even though they say he's not a very team player yet. But there's reasons why he wasn't a team player. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't trust anybody until he got Scottie. When he got Scottie and was able to trust one of his teammates to the level and extent that he trusts Scottie, then he was able to kind of be a little more free. But not only that, on both sides, because Scottie played such great defense and guarded the other team's best player, which kind of made him even more free to do more things on each side of the ball. He had to exert less energy. He doesn't have to chase around the other team's best player. And also on offense, he's not having to run it down, take all kind of extra shots. He doesn't have to work to get to his position. He's getting the ball right there because Scottie can take it down, give it to him. We got other people that are reliable now. Definitely appreciate the fact that he went into that weight room and did that on his own fruition, because there's no telling if he would have been able to do that next season without being stronger to be able to dominate and go through the contact even more per se than he was already, because I'm not trying to avoid the fact that he was already that athlete and already jumped that high and but he got even stronger off of his own will and determination, which says a lot about him as a person. This was not a requirement. There's a lot of people in the NBA today that it's a requirement for you to work out. Zion Williams, you are required to meet a certain weight, but we've been having a problem with you your entire career because you don't want to work out and your diet is super messed up. It's not even that your diet's so messed up. It's like you're just lazy. You don't want to work out and you keep being overweight. It's a different mentality from the guys back in the day. And there's some people that have that. I'm not gonna say they got that Jordan killer instinct, but they had that type of mentality in them. To kind of try to have that Kobe mentality. They kind of implemented that into their work style. So I just think that's insane feat. Jordan is one of the GOATs. He always goes super hard, and that's one of the reasons. That little extra mile he goes. He didn't need to do that, but he did it anyway. Let's jump back into it.
NBA Finals trips, while the Bulls were ascending. MJ swept Isaiah and the Pistons, who famously left before the final buzzer of Game 4, refusing to shake the Bulls' hands.
None of that was working no more.
We finally got over the hump of the loser's mentality. We were starting to become a winning franchise. And, this guy was the limit.
But in the NBA Finals, another legend awaited, Magic Johnson. And it seemed like the 5-time NBA champion still had the upper hand when the Lakers defeated the Bulls at home in Game 1. That is, until Phil Jackson made the adjustment to have Pippen guard Magic, which turned the series around. And in Game 2, Jordan dazzled the world with another iconic move, switching hands midair to score an acrobatic layup.
They didn't know what to do with that.
The Bulls won the next 4 games, and at last, the championship. Jordan's hunger for an NBA ring was finally satisfied. Throughout the playoffs, MJ averaged 31 points, 8.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks, shooting a career-high 56% from the field.
Jordan is the most talented player in the NBA, by far.
And the 1992 season was a continuation of peak form for Jordan and the Bulls. Another scoring title with super efficient shooting, first-team all-defense, and another MVP for his airness. The Bulls once again had the best offense in the NBA and won a franchise record 67 games. Chicago reached the finals against the Trailblazers, and the media pushed the narrative that Clyde Drexler was better than Jordan, because Jordan is not a good outside shooter. So MJ responded by nailing 6 threes and 35 points in the first half of Game 1, which was a finals record for both threes and points and a half, in what will forever be remembered as the Shrug Game. And even though Portland tied the series at 2 apiece, the Bulls were just too good, and they won the series in 6, with MJ averaging 36 points in the finals. After the second finals and the Dream Team experience in Barcelona, Pippen and Jordan came into the '93 season with an empty tank. The Bulls weren't as dominant in the regular season. But even though he was tired, MJ still led the NBA in scoring, which was his 7th scoring title in a row. And he also led the league in steals. Chicago made it to a 3rd consecutive finals, where they faced league MVP Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns, the best team in the regular season. Barkley was also the best player on the Dream Team, and when he won the MVP, many people believed that he could be an even better player than Michael, which pissed off Jordan. But because of the Suns' inexperience and Barkley's nasty elbow injury, the Bulls won the first 2 games on the road, and it seemed like it would be smooth sailing to the next title.
I didn't know Barkley
the Suns
was like
weren't
that.
going away that easily. They won games 3 and 5 in Chicago, and they could have won game 4 too, if it wasn't for Jordan.
That motherfucker would not let me win that game.
Who buried the Suns with 55 points, the second highest scoring game in NBA Finals history.
And Michael just outplayed me. That was probably the first time in my life that I felt like there was a better basketball player in the world than me, to be honest with you.
After 5 games, it was 3-2 for the Bulls, but the remaining 2 games were to be played in Arizona. In Game 6, the Suns had the lead throughout the 4th quarter, but Jordan kept the Bulls in the game, and everybody expected Jordan to take the final shot to tie the game. But MJ wasn't the same stubborn player as before, and he gave up the ball early to set up an open shot for John Paxson.
That was his growth as a player. He was willing to pass up the shot.
A three-peat, and MJ's legacy was set. Jordan finished the 93 finals with averages of 41, 8, and 6 on 51% shooting and 40% from three. And this wasn't even his best playoff series statistically. MJ was on the top of his game, and his basketball IQ, winning mentality, and physical dominance all synced in perfect harmony. Jordan showed his otherworldly ability to beat an opponent one-on-one, separate double teams, attack the rim, but also to find open teammates. If we compare the 1993 Jordan to his early NBA years, the growth was evident. When it was needed, he was pressing full court defensively. When nobody could score, he recognized it and carried the Bulls. And when he got doubled, he gave up the ball without trying to be a hero. In terms of basketball skills, Jordan was physically a much stronger player who became a master of footwork and post-up game. When he reached the desired position with his back to the basket, he'd turn and stay in the air for what felt like an hour longer than his opponent, only to hit a patented turnaround jumper clean as a whistle. The memories of anyone doubting him were long forgotten. Everybody knew he was the best player alive, and many believed after that three-peat, he was already the best of all time. My love for this game is strong. I'm going to be here as long as my love is strong, Jordan told reporters after the finals in a champagne-soaked locker room. However, just 1 month later, his father was killed, and Jordan retired from basketball for a year and a half. The love for basketball was put on hold.
I had him for 32 years, and he taught me a lot in 32 years.
That's tough.
You know how many kids get that opportunity? Very few. In today's society, get the chance to spend that much time with their parents and get that type of influence.
18 months and a stint in minor league baseball later, and the itch for the game became too strong. So Jordan released arguably the most famous two-word press release of all time.
It came in a two-word statement, which is now just begging to have a Nike campaign built around it.
Yeah, the boy going crazy.
I'm back.
And it didn't take Jordan too much time to show that he was still the god of basketball. In just the fifth game after his return, he poured in 55 points against the Knicks in the infamous double nickel game. But overall, MJ struggled with his shot, shooting a career-low 41% from the field. And it turned out that playing baseball for a year and a half took a bite out of his greatness. Even the best players need to practice. And in the second round of the playoffs against Orlando, things didn't go according to plan. Even though Michael averaged 31 points on 48% shooting, the Bulls weren't as strong inside.
I don't care what type of
Horace Grant, who used to be their starting power forward, was now playing for Orlando. And together with a young Shaq, the Magic simply outmuscled the Bulls in the paint. Many people will say the Bulls lost in '95 because Jordan wasn't in peak form after his baseball hiatus. And there is some truth to that. But Jordan actually averaged his usual numbers. Really, basketball is just a team sport, and they lost because Orlando was much bigger and deeper than them. Thankfully, the Bulls management knew that too.
Last week, the Bulls announced the acquisition of a player many people consider the most controversial basketball star in the NBA.
They added Dennis Rodman to the team, the best rebounder of all time, and one of the fiercest defensive players ever.
I don't care. Whatever. What's up?
A year before, they also added Steve Kerr, the most accurate three-point shooter ever. And together with a defensive dog, Ron Harper, and Tony Kukoc, who was the most versatile power forward in the NBA, MJ had the best supporting cast in the league. In the 1996 season, the Bulls were so good that they became only the second team in NBA history to lead the NBA in offensive and defensive rating. And their plus 13.4 net rating is still the best ever. Their 72-10 record was the best of all time, and of course, Jordan won an MVP, averaging 36-4. As for the playoffs, there was no stopping the Bulls. Only the Sonics in the finals showed any kind of resistance, and Gary Payton was the first defender to have slowed down Michael, but he couldn't beat him. And Chicago won their fourth title, with Michael crying his guts out in the locker room because it was the first championship he won without his father.
I know he's watching. This is for Daddy. I'm very happy.
He was hurting.
He's a voice of reason that always drove and challenged me. That's the type of father I had.
Like a friend?
Yeah, like a friend.
And when the 1997 season started, the Bulls continued to rule the NBA. With 4 Hall of Famers, the most accurate three-point shooter of all time, and other excellent role players, no team could match up with Chicago. Running the triangle like a well-oiled machine, the Bulls dominated the regular season with 69 wins, and getting to the finals seemed like a walk in the park, as they only lost 2 games in 3 playoff series. But in the finals, it wasn't that easy because they played the formidable duo of Stockton and Malone and the Utah Jazz.
Okay,
this series would be
Stockton and
remembered
Malone.
by the infamous flu game, where Jordan suffered from food poisoning and had a fever before the pivotal Game 5 when the series was tied. But Jordan played through the illness and managed to squeeze every atom of strength to score 38 points, and the Bulls won 90-88.
Sick as a dog.
In Game 6, Jordan trusted Steve Kerr with the final shot, and Kerr hit a jumper for the win in the final seconds.
Come back, lost 1 year, come back with.
However, when the
back-to-back
1998 season
again.
started, the Bulls were running on fumes. Pippen had
That's
injury
insane.
problems and disputes with management, and Rodman was more reckless than ever. But they still had Michael. Even though he wasn't as athletic as before and his efficiency decreased, Jordan was still capable of winning games by himself. The Bulls finished with 62 wins despite Pippen missing half the season, and that's why Jordan was named NBA MVP for the 5th time. In the playoffs, the
Even
Bulls
getting
survived
older,
the Indiana
still
Pacers
MVP.
in the Eastern Finals, winning Game 7 by 5 points. And then, in the finals, Utah awaited again, hungrier than ever.
Stockton and
In a
Malone
tough
again.
defensive series where neither team scored 100 points, Jordan proved his clutch factor once again, hitting
we say?
arguably the most famous shot
Another
in
year, another
NBA history
championship.
over Byron Russell.
Open. Chicago with the lead.
6 championships in 8 years, with 6 awards for the Finals MVP, and Jordan achieved basketball immortality.
2 3-peats.
And if this is the final chapter, what a way to close the book.
After 1998, Jordan retired for the 2nd time, which was the end of his prime, and we can sum up his career with the Bulls in 3 parts. The first part being between 1984 and 1990, when he was easily the most athletic player in the NBA, a scoring machine beating players with speed and leaving defenders stuck in the mud. But basketball is a team sport, and Jordan didn't have enough quality teammates around him, and those who he did have, he didn't trust. The second part was the first three-peat, when he slowed down a bit and wasn't going 100 miles
the
per
game
hour on
slowed
every
down.
possession.
He had
MJ
help. He
was
was
then
more confident.
physically stronger, he became a master of all facets of the game, improved his shot, and started trusting his teammates. And then came the second three-peat, where the Bulls had the deepest and most versatile team in the NBA. The Bulls with Pippen, rookie Kukoc, and Kerr won 55 games in the 1994 season, and they played without Jordan, Rodman, and Harper, who was maybe the most underrated teammate MJ ever had. When they all got together in 1996, it was game over for the league. But having good teammates is essential to winning in the NBA, especially when you're past your physical prime. Jordan lost a chunk of his quickness during the second three-peat, but that's like when a Ferrari loses 100 horsepower. It's still faster than almost anything else on the road.
man.
And that answers the question, how good was Michael Jordan actually? Even when he wasn't at his best, Jordan was still the best player in the league.
Absolutely.
If you divide his career into 3 parts, each part would suffice for a Hall of Fame career. In his first 6 seasons, Jordan didn't win a ring, but he was the most electrifying athlete the NBA had ever seen, with unreal stats and winning all possible accolades. The first three-peat was Jordan at his best, showcasing a level of basketball that's rare and few, if any, have touched. And with his second three-peat, the Bulls won 72, 69, and 62 games in the regular season, and capped it off with 3 championship rings, losing just 13 games in 12 playoff series from 1996 to 1998. The only season of his career where Jordan wasn't the best player in the league was probably just his rookie season. Jordan was the best player in the world for over a decade, something that can be said only of 3 other players, Wilt, Kareem, and LeBron. But while Kareem's individual and team accomplishments are similar to MJ's, Jabbar wasn't the best player on his team for 3 of his 6 championships, and he only has 2 Finals MVPs compared to Jordan's 6. Wilt's scoring numbers from the 60s were impossible to reach even for Jordan, but he only won 2 titles and was constantly losing to Bill Russell. And finally, there's LeBron, who might be the most complete basketball player ever, and due to his longevity, he is the statistical GOAT. But LeBron only has 4 titles and has lost 6 times in the finals, including the 2011 dud against the Mavs, where he played a catastrophic series that cost Miami the championship. And that's something that never happened to Jordan. And because of his decade of dominance, a 6-0 record in the finals, with 6 Finals MVPs, and the biggest impact on NBA popularity worldwide, it's hard to say that Jordan wasn't the greatest player to ever touch a basketball. Speaking of Jordan, we've got another video about him and Pippen you simply can't miss.
I'm not gonna lie, dog. The craziest part is even from the beginning of his career, like after like when they first started talking about the big shot, when it was the turn and everybody started recognizing, dude, ever since that point, all he did was get better. I don't care what point you want to look at, what you want to take out of it, because there was a lot of times within the video where he spoke on like coming out of college, he was not like the best then. He did not have the best stats. He looked good. He had the potential. He had to do the work. You know what I'm saying? And he absolutely did the work. He absolutely did a little more than the work because he was already a substantial talent. So to add that work ethic with his talent is what took him over the hump. Definitely think that every year he just got better. Even from them first 6 years, like they spoke on, he was the best statistically talented person in the NBA. Only his first year, his rookie season, is probably the only season, and this is his words, where he wasn't the best player. Well, arguably the best player in the NBA. Every season after that, Jordan. Now, going after the first 6 seasons, going into the first three-peat, nobody was better than him in the league. The only thing about him was that he was just a bit selfish, so it kind of took the team play out of it, and it would result in losses because you have to play team ball to get to the highest level and to win at the highest level. Now, yeah, greatness and Jordan is the reason why they win that game, but all the role players and the help from Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman is the reason why they could win three-peats, reason why they could win a 4-game series. Yes, you can win 1-2 games out the series just playing ball hogging ball, but to win all 4 games and to win these three-peats and to be goated like that, team ball. So he became the best team player after the second three-peat. And all he did was continue to evolve as a player. Even on the later, in the latter of his career, whenever he was losing his athleticism, he evolved into more of a jump shooter. He started doing more layups and more posting up than just trying to poster people. But that's just the evolution of the game. And there's a lot of folks now that can't even get a jump shot. His jump shot evolved all the way throughout his career, and he became a better shooter. By the end of his career, he was a great jump shooter, especially from the mid-range. But that's just the evolution of him. I thought this was a great video. It was great insight. I had a good time watching it. So I appreciate you guys for rocking with me, man. Do me a big favor. If you made it all the way through the video, you the real MVP. Make sure you're liking the video. By liking the video, the way the YouTube algorithm works, YouTube will show the video to more people. You know what I'm saying? And it'd just be helping me to grow. So I would appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do big things. So make sure you're not forgetting to hit that subscribe button also. Subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Everyone's subscriber counts, so you could be the one to help me to get closer to my goals. But other than that, bro, I got more videos coming. Got more basketball videos. Trying to get back into the videos, lock in. Have a lot of things coming for you guys. So with that being said, man, make sure you're joining the family. You're not a stranger. So next time I drop a video, you hit that post notification bell. You know exactly when I do that. But other than that, I appreciate you. I hope you know what it is, and I'm out your day.